Marahil alam mo na ang nangyari sa Silicon Valley Bank na isa sa mga pinakamalaking pagbagsak ng isang bangko simula noong 2008 after the Washington Mutual Bank issue. Before becoming known globally for its chaotic collapse, SVB is kilala bilang isa sa mga napakalaking bangko in terms of tech community presence, most especially in the Silicon Valley and the San Francisco Bay Area. Yung pagbagsak nito ay mayroong malaki at unique na impact on the area according sa isang University Assistant Professor Matthew Faulkner. Itong school na pinagtuturuan niya ay roughly around 10 miles lang from the bank's headquarters in Santa Clara. Sabi niya, we're in the middle of it. You could feel the mania and the panic and the concern. Talagang marami kami nakitang mga investors na talagang pumunta doon sa bangko. It's not uncommon to know somebody, whether you or somebody has money there or whether their company has money there, sabi ni Faulkner, no? So, para doon sa mga wala sa Silicon Valley, it's a tech space, the SVB is actually not a household name. Many of the clients kasi nito are those VC capital firms or venture capital firms, startups, and wealthy tech workers. For roughly around 4 decades or 4 na dekada, SVB has been very successful competing with the big names in the financial industry, but only to collapse in a matter of days. SVB started in 1983 after being conceived by Bill Bickerstaff and Robert Mediaris over a game of poker. According to the bank's own history from 2003, yung founder's goal is to provide banking services to tech startups in Silicon Valley. The first office was actually in San Jose, California. Sabi ni Faulkner, isa sa mga focus ng bangko on the tech is to meet a trailblazer in that particular aspect. In 1987, yung kumpanya ay nagbigan ng trading stock for Nasdaq. A year later, it completed its IPO and raised $6 million worth in equity. Yung bank gradually expanded around Silicon Valley and then to the East Coast in 1990 with an office in Massachusetts. In the 1990s, the company opened offices across the United States. After backing young tech startups during the dot-com bubble in the 90s, yung company ay nagkaroon ng pagkakataong iwasan ang halos maging disaster when the bubble bursts on the year of 2000 and the SVB stock fell more than 50% in 2001. The New York Times reported that in 2015. Eventually, in the international arena, SVB opened an Israel office in 2008 and a UK branch and a joint venture in China in 2012 according sa isang timeline ng bangko. Other offices followed in Europe and Canada in the last decade. Then, SVB Executive Vice President Rob McMillan and SVB CEO Greg Becker told the street in 2015 that the bank's wine business was a key part of building its brand and connecting to the Silicon Valley entrepreneurs. That year, SVB's wine practice accounted for 6% of the bank's $14.6 billion gross loan portfolio, sabi ng website na The Street. By December 31, 2022, SVB held $209 billion worth of assets, $175 billion ito in deposits according to the regulators. SVB said on the website at the time na 44% nito of the US venture-backed technology and healthcare IPOs banked with SVB. It was among the top 20 largest banks in the country, pero iisipin mo pa din parang medyo iba pa rin ito ayon sa takbo ng Wells Fargo according or even to Chase according to Faulkner. Still, SVB was seen to be an establishment bank, sabi ni Andrew Metrick and Janet Yellen, Professor of Finance and Management at the Yale School of Management. Itong mga taong ito, sabi ni Metrick, have been there for a long time and already huge institutions na. So basically, they are actually as old as the organized venture capital community in the California area. Meron ding special expertise around Silicon Valley Bank. A lot of the banks may not have participated with these particular startups the same way that SVB did. Normally, pag ang isang tao ay kumukuha ng isang commercial loan sa isang bangko, yung bangko will request for information on the company's cash flow and the available collateral. Pero yun yung challenge. Kasi if you're a young company and you don't have a cash flow positive yet, you need at least a very least banking service. Ayaw mo pong kumuha ng mga malalaking bangko because hahanapan ka niya ng mga iba't ibang uri ng financial documents and that could be a potential challenge to you. Gusto mo rin kumuha ng isang tao mag-handle ng payroll ninyo and be willing to extend you at least small lines of credit, yung mga ganung mga bagay na SVB can handle. At a 1995 article from SFGate, Not Your Typical Lending Institution, sabi doon, while most commercial banks prefer proven clients, si SVB gusto nila yung mga relationships with companies na mga bata pa sa economic or economic toddlers, sabi ng article. It actually has built strong relationships with the venture capital community. SBB is actually unique in really understanding and trusting the clients in terms of building relationships. Sabi ni Metric, yung relationship na ito, it meant long-term, more referrals to other people looking to get their own startups on the ground. And eventually, they were able to raise almost 90% of its accounts with more than $250,000 in deposits because of those referrals. This meant a majority of the bank's deposits were actually not insured by the government because most of the deposits are actually more than $250,000. This bank would seem perfectly at home in the 1920s or in the 1870s. Maraming deposits ito from the local customers. The very biggest banks have much more diversified client bases, somewhat more diversified funding sources. So it wouldn't be as funded as much by deposits. Noong 2020, around the time of the pandemic, yung mga deposits na ito ay talagang lumipad pa. Yung sabi ng indicator from the Planet Money, sabi nila in SBB's case, ito ay nagkaroon ng magandang oportunidad na magpalaki pa ng kanilang mga client base significantly because gusto ng mga tao na maglalagay ng pera during the pandemic. In SBB's case, this ended up being a big problem when the extra billions were invested in treasury bonds with long-term maturities and the Federal Reserve raised interest rates na nakapagpahina sa value ng investment nila in government bonds. And with the tech sector struggling recently, more depositors took their money out. Last week, yung SVB problem ay nag-forced sa mga traders na ibenta kanilang long bond holdings at a loss of 1.8 billion leading to a run on the bank. Federal regulators took control of the bank on Friday. So in short, lahat ng problema ng Silicon Valley Bank ay nagmula sa pag-bank run ng mga malalaking investors dahil takot sila na hindi na pwedeng i-insured ng FDIC ang kanilang deposits because majority of them have $250,000 worth of deposits. Syempre, marami silang kanilang mga investors ay mga venture capitals and some of those venture capitals are actually having their payroll run by the bank. Kapag ang banko merong valuation na bumaba because they actually heavily invested on treasuries na may 1.5% interest rates. Pero kasi ngayon ang ating treasury or ating yield is already more than 4%. So ang valuation ng book ng kumpanya ay halos 300% lower from the current price. Dahil doon nagkaroon ng problema and everyone else went out of SPP. Miranda, tune in to our episodes like this para marami rin tayong alam in terms of the fundamentals of the market that can influence cryptocurrency. If you've learned to love and like our video, please don't forget to click on like and subscribe to our channel so you are actually updated for everything but crypto all in one channel. Maraming salamat kay Miranda and I love you 3000.
Subscribe, like, follow, and share. Sige na please, Ka Miranda.